A few more words are needed on the subject of the Worldstone, even though I doubt its nature will ever be fully understood. It has been called the Eye of Anu, and it embodied the endless cycles of birth and death, destruction and creation. Desire to control its infinite power fueled the eternal conflict until Anarius and Lilith stole it, brought it to Sanctuary, where the stone eventually became corrupted. That is why Tyrael used his sword, Eldrin, to shatter it. The Worldstone was nearly as large as the mountain that housed it, Mount Arreat, and the cataclysm that followed its destruction left that high peak a crater. The blast also scattered dangerous shards of the Worldstone across Sanctuary. Some of those shards fell to earth imbued with the power of death, and death followed them. The corruption of the Worldstone tainted even those small fragments, and there were some who attempted to use the shards for evil purposes. A witch named Ascara attempted to summon a powerful demon named Skarn. The necromancer Lethis sought to wield the power of the shard for herself, to gain mastery over life and death. The power of another shard even helped revive an ancient evil known as the Countess, who once bathed in the blood of the innocent and had been defeated before. Brave heroes retrieved these 3 shards and brought them to Deckard Cain. Even he was unable to destroy them, despite his vast knowledge, without the aid of an angelic dagger. I have read that this attempt unleashed demons in his home in Westmarch. It is possible there are many of these shards left in Sanctuary, and that is what troubles me. Splinters of the Worldstone might appear in a farmer's field as the earth is tilled, or in a riverbed beneath a swimming child, or in the garden of a cruel lord. Wherever a shard is found, suffering will surely follow. I think it would be the task of any future Herodrum to follow rumors of these shards and splinters and collect them. If these fragments cannot be destroyed, they must at least be contained and hidden by those who understand the true danger they pose. The greatest weapons wielded by the legions of the burning hells are made in the realm of Baal, Lord of Destruction, where the fires of the Hell Forge burn. Very few mortals have ever seen that place, or felt its searing heat against their skin. Those who did venture into that inferno went to destroy the blue and crimson soulstones, and thereby banish the spirits of Mephisto and Diablo to the black abyss. To succeed in this, they had to defeat a demon called Hephasto, the Armorer, a towering monstrosity with wide horns and powerful arms strengthened by thousands and thousands of strikes with his Hellforge hammer against the anvil of fury. He fed his furnaces a diet of suffering, and it is said that his diabolic skill produced weapons that could only be used in the acts of destruction and desecration. That is why I urge you to forsake any thought you may have to use a weapon of hell, should you ever find one. Perhaps you believe you could put it to use for good, and perhaps you could, for a time. Ultimately, I do not believe such a plan can ever lead to anything but ruination, no matter how righteous the motives behind it. A demonic weapon was made for one purpose, and before a mortal could ever hope to bend its will, the weapon will twist the will of the wielder. According to most texts, Malthael was the oldest member of the Angerus Council of Archangels, and was only once entrusted as its leader. Within the borders of his domain in the high heaven lay the pools of wisdom. Their waters flow with the sum of all emotion and passion in creation, and it is from those wells that Malthael filled Chaladar, his chalice of wisdom. I have often wondered what happened to his mind in the countless hours he spent gazing into its basin. What did he see that convinced him to forsake his aspect of wisdom for the aspect of death? What caused him to embrace destruction as his purpose? I do not wish to believe that any true wisdom led him down the path he chose, nor do I need to look into a bowl of water to scry my own mortality. I know that death is inevitable, but that knowledge leads me to merely accept death, not embrace it. Death may be the end, but it is not the answer. Or, as it is written in the Gospel of Death, our mortality isn't earned, it simply is. I have never looked into Malthael's chalice. If it's like other vessels, the water's surface will function as a mirror as well as a window. As the ravages of the eternal conflict took their toll on Malthael's mind, as they must have, it is natural that his pain and doubt would be reflected back at him when he stared into Chaladar. I believe he poisoned the source of his wisdom with his own despair. Beware the fortune teller who knows your fears. Avoid chalices. Live as if you will die. Donan speculated in his writings that Malthael created weapons from the pools of wisdom, somehow distilling salts from those waters for the sharpest emotions that cut deepest: grief, shame, fear, and rage. He used this material to forge 2 scythes, twin crescents that sliced through flesh like sharpened shadows. After Malthael had taken on the aspect of death, I witnessed him wield these terrible implements in his harvest of souls. The whereabouts of Malthael's scythes remain unknown. They may have perished with him, but if they survived, they would be incredibly powerful weapons, perhaps even conveying the mantle of the Reaper onto anyone foolish enough to take them up. Standing in opposition to weapons of darkness are weapons of light. Tyrael's sword, Eldraine, Sword of Justice, is one such blade. The shape of its golden hilt evokes the image of an archangel's wings spread wide, or perhaps the rays of the rising sun over the horizon. A crystal shines at its center, glowing with the radiance of the heavens. Some writings claim its edge can cut through any substance or barrier, but will not harm the righteous. I never did ask Tyrael if this was true. When Tyrael renounced his angelic nature and fell to earth as a mortal, Eldraine fell with him, breaking into 3 lost pieces. The quest to recover those fragments cost the life of the venerable Deckard Cain. In his final living act, that age Horadric mage repaired the sword. For this deed and for many, many more, I believe history will judge Cain as standing among the greatest Horadrim, representing the best of what the Horadric Order can be. I am certain Cain would rebuff such a description of himself. It must be said that I likely owe my life to Eldraine. In that first confrontation with Malthael, as others fell and died, I was spared behind a magical shield that Tyrael raised using his sword. Therefore, let it be known that what I write next is not intended as an expression of ingratitude. A wealthy man once came to my father and asked him to forge a sword. He paid well for a blade of the strongest steel, with the sharpest edge and a wicked gleam. Something about the man's demeanor unsettled my father, which I had rarely seen. He asked the stranger who he intended to kill with the sword, and the wealthy man replied that he only wanted a weapon to defend himself. "Friend," my father said, "no one carries a sword unless they expect to use it." I have never forgotten those words, and at times that memory leads me to wonder why the heavens carry a sword. Do eternal blades defend against eternal conflict, or do they bring it about? Ilnira, the Edge of Temperance, was a dagger, and according to one account it originally belonged to an archangel who followed Daenerys to Sanctuary. It was later given to that angel's Nephilim child, and eventually came to be hidden in the temple of Namari, on a jungle island south of Aranok, known as the Belefen. It was an elegant blade, decorated with delicate inlay and filigree. In the midst of its ornamentation stood a golden hooded figure, peaceful and mysterious, bearing a glittering jewel of pale blue in its arms. A dagger and sword are very different things. A sword has but one purpose, whereas a dagger is much more than a weapon. It's a tool. Ilnira wasn't known for the demons it slew, nor for the glorious battles it won. It was put to different uses. its light was carried into hell to destroy the ghastly pits of anguish in which demons spawned. Deckard Cain wielded its power to shatter the dangerous shards of the Worldstone. As a weapon, some might say that Ilnira accomplished little. As a tool, that dagger may have saved Sanctuary. Let it therefore serve as a reminder that there are many ways to defeat evil. Do not be too quick in dismissing the humblest of tools or the smallest of allies. Even the ones that seem the least deadly seek only to be useful. Taluzar, the Scroll of Fate. This relic is used by the Archangel Ethereal, the keeper of lore in the high heavens. His domains contain the Library of Fate, and the tomes housed therein contain histories upon histories, and knowledge within knowledge. The Scroll of Fate is reportedly a manifestation of the whole library, the sum of the heaven's vast intelligence, and yet it failed to mention the Nephilim, a startling omission of fateful significance. It seemed that the Scroll of Fate could only reveal what the angels already knew and understood. They did not anticipate the Nephilim, so neither did the scroll. I do not doubt the extraordinary power of Taluzar, but it is not infallible. In writing this book, I have thus far referred to the writings of Cain and Donan and other texts as sources. Perhaps that gives my word added weight, or makes them seem more trustworthy. However, what if Cain and Donan were wrong in what they wrote? Worse yet, what if they tended to deceive? We would be wise to remember that the map is not the territory. Books and scrolls are not the same as knowledge, including this book.